Ask for Anthony Riddle.
Anthony.
Riddle. Riddle. R-I-D-D-L-E.
Okay. Wow.
Tell him Glendora sent you. I think you have to tell what they're doing to you, so they'll stop it. Because that's the only thing that they don't have control over. They don't have control over the media. Change the channel, please. Change the channel.
Who are you talking to?
The person who should be changing the channel. Okay.
Glendora, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome.
Very, very, very much.
Adonis is the name of a Greek youth
Yes.
who was beloved by Aphrodite.
Yes.
And because she loved him so, and he was killed by a wild boar.
Yes. Sure.
And because Aphrodite loved him so, and wept so much about him, he only had to spend half of a year in Hades instead of the full year.
That's right.
That's the Greek myth.
That's right.
A beautiful youth, Adonis.
And he is. He's an absolute leader, and he's absolutely gorgeous. And it's true. I love him with all my heart, and every other gal that sees him loves him with all their heart. To love him, and the guys like to like. He has a lot of charisma, and maybe that's another reason why they came against him.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I recorded this. Do you want it to go on TV?
Yes.
Okay. I'll try to arrange that. But she's another innocent victim, and they manufacture these over and over again. And I would think that they would use the U.S. attorney to go out and get the people who murdered the 5,000 people in Manhattan.
Right, that's right.
Instead of going after innocent people like this and manufacturing criminals and just...
Going jail.
Yeah, that's right.
Going jail.
That's right. It's terrible. Okay, you got Michael Brown's number.
Yes, I do, and I'm going to call him right away.
Okay.
Thank you, Glendora.
All righty, thanks. You have my number?
May I have it again?
914
Yes.
949
Yes.
9495. Okay, hon.
Thank you, Glendora.
I'm sorry, but I chased them away by drilling at them every week and putting up in graphics that they were liars and thieves and that they were pulling a civil recall, and I got rid of them. Take care. They came up with false charges on us. A court security guard beat us up.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. And then he lied about it. And then he said that we beat him up, and we never touched him. And so they went through this whole thing and went through a trial and found guilty. And went through the whole thing.
Unbelievable.
And it never happened. And they do this all the time.
They make it up as they go along.
Oh, it's terrible. You take care. I know what you're going through. Take care.
Thank you. You're a saint.
Oh.
I bless you for fighting back and for giving others the power, the go-ahead to do it.
Oh, you got to do it.
Against me.
Get down there. Yeah, get down there. And you got to expose it. Okay, take care.
Thank you, dear.
Bye-bye. I got another call from Cheryl Golden right after this. She said she talked to Michael Brown for 3 hours. Oh, my goodness. And Michael Brown wants Glendora and Cheryl Golden and Lori Galgano to come to a seminar that Michael Brown is giving in Missouri. Folks, here's a letter that I wrote to my friend who is a PhD in physics, theoretical physics, and I met him at the State University of New York at Buffalo. I was there as a graduate student in physics, and his name is Dr. Eric Beth, and he's writing a paper. It's sort of like Einstein in his theory of relativity. Something came to them from above, of course. And he says that, and I keep after him to keep writing his paper before something happens and get it down. And he says, I have not yet succeeded finishing my paper. Since I received your letter, I found the answers to 2 sub-problems that are of such a nature that at least the statement that I have the solution should go into the first part, and one of them either should go entirely into the first part, or depending how long the last text becomes, the editors put a very reasonable limit on that, and a too long paper also will not much be read, and when read, not well understood. There should go into the first part a statement that I have the answer, and then the answer should become a part of by itself. The 2 statements that I had these answers are likely to enhance greatly the likelihood that the referees will recommend acceptance of the paper. It also is very likely that these statements will increase in many readers the interest in the matter sufficiently that they will read some of the latter. I wrote him back an 8-page letter. And then he speaks of his paper one more time and the answers that he got. I think this is thrilling. The answer is that one of the problems mentioned in the 3rd paragraph above, about which I wrote that perhaps not only a statement that I have the answer may go into part 1, but the answer itself. I had been trying to find this answer since the 1960s. 40 years. 40 years. Concerning the answer to the other problem, it is inevitable that not the answer itself will go into the first part, but on a statement that I have it. In order to state the answer itself, I must first state some features of my theoretical attempts for which there is no room in part 1. Isn't that exciting? He's writing this paper? Oh, I think that's terrific. I think that's right. Now, I have another paper. Karen Murphy. I sent the motion in for Dunn, John P. Dunn, to recuse. You remember that I played that for you. I read it for you. So, the clerk sent it back, and with all this very bad gobbledygook, both the motion clerk sent it back and the court clerk sent it back. My motion for John P. Dunn to recuse. And again, I suspect it's because they don't want it in the record, because I've told the world that John P. Dunn had done nothing. He hadn't done his job. So, I sent the whole thing back to the clerk of Nassau County, and that would be Karen Murphy, Nassau County Clerk, 240 Old Country Road, Mineola, New York, 11501. 1, your clerks are somnolent. 2, this treatment is shoddy, supercilious, and superficial. They don't read. The case number is there. The case was filed in your court, removed by the Gestapo feds pursuant to Title 28 U.S. Code Section 1441 to 1449, then remanded to your court. Glendora was declared informa pauperis on this case back in 1998. All they have to do is get out the file in the clerk's office, Glendora versus Limley, yours in truth, Glendora, and we'll remember in November. I put that on the outside of the envelope. Peter said to Elaine, when are you thinking of getting married? And Elaine said, constantly. And teenagers really brighten up a home. They never turn off the lights. And the physics professor said to the student, "What do you know about the speed of light?" And the student says, "Well, nothing, except it gets here too early in the morning." And Diane said to her husband, "George, you've been up to that buffet table 7 times. Aren't you embarrassed?" And he says, "Oh, no, honey, I keep telling him it's for you." And did you hear about the couple who got married so late in life that Medicare picked up 80% of the honeymoon? And John says now that he's married, he understands why English is the mother tongue. Father never gets a chance to use it. And Ed says that his favorite trick is running his wedding videotape backwards so that he can see himself walk out of church a free man. Tuesday, October 9th, 2001 Anno Domini, 684 at Armonk, 48 miles, 1 hour, up at 3:30 a.m., chores, check the to-do list, the logs, exercise the body, put in the expenses and the mileage, take care of the cats, Rusty was a perfect dog all night, just as quiet as could be. Franklin's foods. Get Franklin up to the bathroom. Make his bed. Get him washed and dressed and to his desk. Franklin is so much better. He can't walk, but he's so much better. White Plains at 50 miles. 5 minutes. Coming into the hutch. Six loads to load the car, back up the editing equipment, the food, stuff for Rusty, the rubbish. Franklin was so good. Sits in his chair at his desk all day. He's read both of his idiot sheets, the sporting news. He's read a lot of the Monday New York Times. He has a TV set right by him. Some very good spirits. He does the bookkeeping. Yesterday was a stellar day. Work got done. I was all done to work at 4:30. And I had free time. I don't remember this happening since last July. Or maybe it was August. Free time. A victory. labored and fought for that for years and years. Free time. The telephoning was done. Legal papers were done. Details were done. For errands, I went out and asked Al if he could put in fuses in the directional and secure and the license plate on the front to stop it from rattling. And he said no. But it was October 12th, Columbus Day, and everybody was bringing their cars in to be fixed. I asked Sitco. He said 4 or 4:30. So I went up to Precision and I asked Doug, and Doug said he didn't see why not. And he got the fuses in and the directionals worked and the heater worked. And they couldn't find a flasher to fit this car. But Doug pushed in my old one and it worked. As far as the license plate, he needs a frame and that's going to cost about $35. Another outrageous Lincoln ripoff. And he said it'll be in Thursday, but Thursday I will be in court with my former landlord getting back the security deposit that he stole. $1,200 plus interest. So everything's up to date. Videotaping's up to date. Chat with Glendora's up to date. And we're on the Hutchinson River Parkway. 7:20 a.m. It was pitch black when we left. The temperature this morning, 29 degrees. And you want to know what the temperature is now, Rusty? This car gives you the outside temperature. 34 degrees. $54 miles, Hutchinson River Parkway at Harrison. 7:20 a.m.
On the island, westbound Betts Highway, much better around MacArthur Airport. An accident cleared. Also on the LIE westbound, slow delays into Comac Road, exit 52 with an accident over to the side of the road. Mass transit is running on or close to schedule. Now the forecast.
We're live at MacArthur Airport on Long Island. Mike Zaronax, WCBS 880 News.
Commuters coming into Grand Central Terminal and Penn Station now will see the National Guard on patrol, just like at the airport. WCBS reporter Peter Haskell's at Penn Station this morning and joins us live.
It's a sign of the time. The National Guard has been added to the security mix here at Penn Station. In their camouflage uniforms and their shiny combat boots, the troops will serve as extra sets of eyes and ears. Travelers here like what they see.
I just think it's great. Makes me feel very secure. I think it's inherent. It's just going to be tougher for people to try to do some person things.
The troops here are not armed. Reporting live at Penn Station, Peter Haskell, WCBS 880 News.
WCBS News Time, 7:37. Traffic and weather together in just a moment. You work on it.
You think on it.
Play on it.
I-95, cross 3 lanes. So far, the roads are clear. Things are back to normal. Speeding tickets. Let's cross over 3 more lanes. 140. 7. An hour and a half. This total line. Hi there. One camera. Have a receipt. Thank you. Said. Show it to the camera, she said. Okay, so that is 60 miles is across county. 70 miles is the toll gate. Keep the speed down here.
Right near Kabul.
We ask the world to be cognizant of the need to protect civilians in general. We also ask in general for recognition of the distinction between combatants and non-combatants.
Stephanie Bunker, UN spokeswoman in Pakistan. Some planes returned to a U.S. aircraft carrier in the Indian Ocean with their bombs still attached. Apparently couldn't find intended targets or decided civilians might be too close. Senator John McCain tells the CBS News Early Show he does not expect many more days of heavy bombing.
There's just very little to strike from the air, and that's why I think we will be moving into operations which may include the use of ground troops, but in a very temporary fashion.
Commando forces, for instance, to search for Osama bin Laden. At a briefing in London, a British official says no decision's been made on using ground troops. Part of tighter security in the U.S., all airlines enforcing a new FAA regulation, only one piece of carry-on luggage plus a purse or computer bag.
Free onto and across that Tappan Zee Bridge. A lot of that alternate volume away from that George Washington Bridge. The express and local lanes of 8095 loaded up easily. A 60-minute delay being reported at that GWB. The other approaches will be better for you. The Lincoln Tunnel inbound side, about a 45 to 60-minute wait there. Staten Island Expressway, heavy volume into 440 right over to the Verrazano Bridge. We had a collision at Clove Road. That has now been cleared away. New England Thruway, southbound Connor Street, all open. And an overturned box truck on that exit ramp. That has now been cleared. The mass transit picture, for the most part, not bad, but we do have some volume on the LIRR. We have some delays, I should say, 15 to 20-minute delays on the Port Jefferson branch. That's due to track problems. Everything else on or close to schedule. A crisp, cool fall morning. Greg Allen, WCBS Weather Center.
Isn't it though, Tom? In the suburbs, it started out in the mid-20s to low 30s. We're up a couple degrees here. The city is up 3 degrees. It's now 44. We have readings for this afternoon up around 60. That's still not normal, but it's better than the last couple days when it stayed in the 50s all day. And tonight will not be as cold. 45 to 50 in the city and 30s to near 40 in the suburbs. This time about 10 warmer than the...
Every morning on the Cross Island going north, this horrible pileup. This is actually Queens, New York City. We're going south on the Cross Island, coming into the southern state of Long Island. Time is 8:10 a.m. 2 hours. We're driving for 2 hours. 80 miles is on the Cross Island at about the LIE entrance. So I had to pass it up. This is Lynbrook. Coming from Cablevision. It's 8:24 a.m. and the mileage is 88 miles. months. 2 hours and a quarter. Merritt Road, Lynbrook is Brooklyn spelled backwards. Here we are. I think, Rusty, you don't have to be parked in the sun. I mean in the shade. It'd be better if you were parked in the sun. Okay? Ready for Rusty's walk. And we're the only ones here except for customer service.
To have letters being sent to the United States Attorney alleging RICO violations on the part of the Islip Town Attorney.
Okay, do you know what number that law is? I'm going to give it to you.
It's the number of the RICO statute?
Yes, you know what it is, Title 18?
No, but I can give you the name and the number of the attorney.
No, I don't want it.
Oh.
Let me give you the number of the law.
Oh, you want? Oh no, off the top of my head, no, I don't know what
it's Title 18.
U.S. Chapter 18 U.S.C.
No, Title 18.
Title 18. Okay.
Title 18.
Look it up from there.
Wait a second. Title 18 U.S. Code.
Hold on, I gotta write this all down now.
Oh yeah, that's important. Title 18 U.S. Code.
Title 18 U.S. Code.
Section.
Yes.
1964.
Oh, 64. All right, I'm familiar with Section 1983, which is the...
No, that's Civil Rights Title 42.
That's the device under which an individual may sue a governmental entity.
Yeah, no, that's Title 42.
Oh, right, 42 U.S.C. Section 1983.
No, I'm talking about Civil RICO is 1964, Section C.
Oh, okay.
I mean, parenthesis C, I should say. Parenthesis C.
Parenthesis, got it, okay.
Section 1964, parenthesis C. And if you go to your library, they should have the U.S. Code.
Yes, I will just underline that by saying
and it's a little tiny thing. It's only like a column long, but that's the law.
Well, it counts for a lot. We have one of the finest law libraries in New York State, presently situated on floor 4 of the Supreme Court building in Central Islip.
Yeah, that's a requirement. Did you know that's a state law? Every New York county.
Absolutely.
Every Supreme Court has to have a public...
must maintain a library, and the librarians are actually attorneys. The librarians, the head librarian must be an attorney, and that way they can guide you.
You sure that's part of the law? I never read that.
Well, that seems to be the custom. It's set forth in the judiciary law of the state of New York, as far as I know.
Okay.
I've also had an opportunity to be invited up to the city of Rochester by the coalition in Rochester, who are battling with the city fathers up there over a type of code enforcement which they call Operation Uplift, where they all the authorities gather on each end of a city block. They close down the traffic, and together with code enforcement officers, police officers, health officers, fire marshals, and other inspectors, they go door to door, banging on doors, demanding entry into tenant-owned properties for the purpose of code enforcement, and they issue blitzes of tickets, mountains of tickets, which must be battled in their local administration.
Oh, that's Gestapo.
It's terrible. And they have in Brookhaven a setup called Operation Firestorm, where they literally bulldoze a house. And the guy that invented that is our U.S. Congressman Grucci, the fireworks king. So we've devolved into a very, very, very Nazi-like environment here.
I'll say.
And
you mentioned Grucci.
Felix Grucci.
The FCC mandates that the cable company keep a public inspection file. Part of that inspection file is the political advertising, and I saw where Grucci spent tens of thousands of dollars on political advertising on Cablevision.
And you can be sure that...
I saw his checks. If you ever want to see them, you can go see them.
Well, they're all there. We have a local race here in Islip that's being funded by the supervisor to get rid of a Democratic lady who lives on the other side of the river from us, who we very dearly appreciate.
trucks right now, Lord and Taylor. Baseball is also in the Bible. It says in the Bible, in the big inning. Why do firemen always have a Dalmatian dog? Why do firemen always have a Dalmatian dog? So that the dog can go ahead of the fire truck and find the fire hydrant. Why was 6 mad at 7? Why was 6 mad at 7? Because 7, 8, 9. Batanani, Cox Cable TV in Manchester, Connecticut. MCI 500 Clinton Center Drive, Clinton, Mississippi 39056. Their telephone number is 601-460-5000. 1. The clerks you have working for you send our bill to the wrong address. 2. It takes the White Plains Post Office 10 days to forward it. 3. As soon as we get it, we pay the $179 in its entirety. 4. 2 days later, you turn off the service. 5. No notice. 6. You are in the telephone business. Don't you know how to call us and tell us? Page 3. Don't you know how to use the telephone? 8. We call 1-800 blank 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 and we tell them what happened. The people you have quote unquote working for you are inscrutably intransigent. 9. They volleyball from one department to the other. The blockheads act like idiots. They want us to pay by MasterCard. We will not let these blockheads have our MasterCard number. We do not trust them. It was your mistake. Why don't these imbeciles have enough sense to say, quote, we are sorry, we will remedy the situation immediately. 12. We have been MCI customers for over a score of years. We have always paid the next day. Doesn't that count for anything with you savages? 14. We have paid you thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Isn't that credit enough for you Neanderthals? 15. You do not have the common sense to look up a person's records. You are dehumanized. 16. Your bizarre accounting practices have alienated people all over the United States of America. We hear complaints about you on TV, consumer reports. 17. Glendora videotaped much of the nonsense spit out by your clucks. It will be on TV in 3 weeks. Glendora is on 35 TV stations, Oregon to Connecticut. And here we are avid admirers of Mr. McGowan for cracking the AT&T monopoly. Mr. McGowan gave his life to it and died young of heart failure. We hail Judge Green. Now you adulterate McGowan's holy accomplishment into a monster of dehumanization, rude clucks, aberrant and sassy phony phone brats. Their names are Miss Hill, Mr. Phillips, Mr. Kruger, Chad, Diane, User, the blocking blockheads, fierce financials, and customer disservice. And they are all going to be sued along with you and the corporation. You will be sued in the United States District Court, diversity of citizenship, and these phony phone brats would not give us their locations. They know they have abused the public, and they fear the nemesis. You owe us thousands of dollars for lost time, lost speech, emotional stress, emotional labor, excessive labor, inter alia. Our ad dominum is $83 million. $83 million. We sued MCI last year when they perpetrated this strategy and got rid of Bernard this man right here, Bernard Ebbers. Take full credit for same. If you had a local office, as do Verizon and the electric and cable TV, it would not take 7 to 10 days to post our payments. You are all over the globe, milli miles away, and you never look at the milli checks we have sent you. Our payment record is perfect, and you have to be iconoclastic. You will also be sued for endangering the health and welfare. Franklin's 92-year-old brother was taken to the hospital in a comatose state. Franklin's nephew called 914-949-9495, 76 miles from our autumn home, and left the news on our telephone answering machine. We tried 8 times to retrieve our messages on 914-949-9495, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But you Neanderthals had blocked our service. We did not find out about Vincent in Texas in a hospital until Monday. And his son Norman, Franklin's nephew, said, I was wondering when you were going to call back. Now what do you think of yourself? It's a dismal record, isn't it? We loathe, hate, abhor, detest, and despise what you have done to the McGowans' heritage. Why do you act so precipitously? How many days was that? It was too few, even if you had a case. You act precipitously, irrationally, adamantly, a stone of impenetrable hardness, with no clue to being a Homo sapiens. You should count the days, Midas, from the date of the bill when you finally woke up to the correct address on October the 11th, 02 Friday. See the exhibit affixed here too, as page 11. So regard your next mal and nonfeasance. See, this is the bill sent to the wrong address. Box 69, White Plains. The people in White Plains were smart enough to rescue it. And then, this is what the White Plains Post Office did to it. They knew what was going on. And then they send the bill with the correct address. And then they finally send this letter. And look at this stupid. Please be aware that you have also received an additional invoice of, and it's blank, that has not been paid. Failure to pay this invoice will result in additional collection activity. What a terrible company. This is MCI. You should use the United States Post Office postmark as a postage meter so people could have proof of your date of mailing. You don't even put the date on the inside that you mail the invoice. Now, folks, this is MCI. This is a mess they have made of everything. We have 3 MCI lines, 914-949-9495 and 631-425-0304, and the one that you and the one discussed herein, and you could have looked up the other ones and seen that they were all current. A little intelligence would have revealed you have instant paying customers here, and that something was wrong, to wit, you sent the bill to the wrong address. We are sending this complaint herein to the New York State Public Service Commission. They should not let cheaters like you operate in the Empire State. And you lose checks. Last spring you lost so many checks, over $260 worth, and we sent you doubles of them. And then we had nothing due for months. And 1 month Franklin wrote MCI a check for 2 cents. So we will not send you duplicate payments anymore. You made us so disenchanted with your abstinent conduct, we changed 914-949-9495 to Verizon. It was disuse, abuse that precipitated that. We got it $15 more cheaply. Your obtuse clucks kept saying, you do not have permission to tape me. What relevance is that in court? In the state of New York, any conversation can be taped as long as one person knows it's being taped, and Glendora knew it was being taped. You have to subtract from the next bill the service you took from us for 6 days. The rest is reserved, and infra is Franklin's comment on what you did. And here's Ebers, who left the company. Conclusion: Glendora must be awarded compensatory and punitive damages of $83 million, together with all further relief just and proper. Under penalty of perjury, Glendora has told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help her God. Dated October 28, 2002, Anno Domini, yours in truth, Glendora. Service list: Robert Roberts, he's the chairman. Dubell, and Glendora TV audience, that's you. And the Center for Judicial Accountability Incorporated, 15 hours and $4. So this is November 2nd, and we have to start Omnibus 14, and they will be a group of defendants in that lawsuit. Now see, you can't go to church because you... Okay. You'll probably receive a lot of greetings. Reason for not going to church, Penny? Do you have a reason for not going to church? Burning leaves, folks? No. Something about a car. It was in the garage. Pick up the laundry on the way to church. There it is, all clean, and it smells so good. I use, what's the name of it? No, what is the name of it? Purex, because it smells so good, and I think it's cheaper than the others, and it does such a good job. And it's so nice to have the clothes clean.
To be quiet.
Here's some words, folks.
To accept.
Acquiesce.
Comply. Tacitly or passively, without implying assent or agreement.
The sermon was brilliant. The sermon was stimulating. It was the end of the Sermon on the Mount. And it was so nice, but at the end, the minister said, thanked all the people who volunteered for the turkey supper. Well, I don't like that. I don't like murdering turkeys. Franklin is listening to a book, The Dog Who Saved Cats. The Dog Who Saved Cats. This letter is from Ethan Book Jr. in Fairfield, Connecticut. And he's writing to Governor Rowland, the governor of Connecticut. I read you 3 paragraphs of this before. But listen to this. Ethan Book says to Governor Rowland, please observe that these comments are also in the context of a court case in which I have been involved since 1987, a case for which there was a published decision in 1989, Connecticut Resources Recovery Authority et al. Versus Freedom of Information Commission et al. I seek access to the bid given to the Connecticut Resources Recovery Authority by Signal Environmental Systems, also known as Wheelabrator Environmental Systems, for redevelopment of the $300 million Greater Bridgeport Resource Recovery Project. For that case, which is presently before the Connecticut Supreme Court, there have been various clear contortions of justice by the state courts at various levels, and also various indications of unethical professional conduct, particularly by the law firm of Murtha, Colina, Richter, and Pinney, the former outside legal counsel for the Connecticut Resources Recovery Authority. Now, going on to his second page, he starts talking to Governor Rowland about self-represented litigants, that is, pro se people. And he says, for other self-represented litigants, there is sufficient knowledge of the legal procedures and laws for which it is simply more efficient for that litigant to represent himself than it would be to add a middleman. There is a distinct appearance of pro se bias in the courts. Over the last 10 years, I have often found myself presenting in court the right facts with the right procedures and the right statutes, yet found favorable court response to my positions lacking. The interrelationship between the bar and the bench has long been well known. Both professions tend to survive based on favors of one to the other. The problem is that such an interrelationship and propensity for favorable biases is ineffectively regulated, notwithstanding respective rules of conduct. Now, he says, I am a member of a judicial reform advocacy group called A Matter of Justice. Here's a website for it, if you want to see it. On October 12, 2002, the A Matter of Justice president, Jacob Roginski, Dr. Roginski, presented some comments which follow. The law professors aren't allowed to have their own agendas. Getting a professorship in law schools is like getting a federal judgeship. He who rocks the boat is banned from boating. Now we go on to Sam Houston, who said, when a government has ceased to protect the lives, liberty, and property of the people from whom its legitimate powers are derived and becomes an instrument in the hands of evil rulers to their oppression, well, that's a pretty bad situation, says Sam Houston. Robert Weiser said he saw a chat with Glendora at 10 p.m. in his regular time slot on Wappingers Falls, Thursdays. Now, Mr. Ethan Book includes in here a Matter of Justice folder, which says, I want you. Here's a Matter of Justice, the website and all that. Post office box.
Skills to take down.
Rye City Court fails America. Received by Glendora on October 30th, the eve before All Saints' Eve 2002, and memo endorsed by Glendora on November 4th, 2002. City Court of Rye, State of New York, County of Westchester, Glendora plaintiff against Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision defendants. Decision in order, small claims number year 2002, number 146. The caption is correct. 1. Court is in error. Defendant CSC Holdings Incorporated, sued herein as Cablevision, and Charles F. Dolan, move the court to dismiss the small claims pursuant to the Unified City Court Act, Sections 1801 and 1810. First of all, that's a lie. Callaghy and Cablevision and Dolan did not use the Uniform City Court Act. They used the Uniform District Court Act, and Rye is not a district court. Only Nassau and Suffolk are district courts. Second, it's an error because the defendant is not CSC Holdings Incorporated. CSC stands for Cable Systems Corporation Holdings Incorporated. Glendora made this abundantly clear, and she stated this 8 times in her papers. She did not name CSC Holdings Incorporated as a defendant, and Peter Lane should never have said that she did. He fell prey to the errors and the lying of Robert Callaghy, Charles F. Dolan, and Cablevision. Number 2, defendants are Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision Systems Corporation. It says so right there. And it said so on Glendora's filing papers. Glendora wins on jurisdiction. Thank you. Plaintiff has sued for the sum of $3,000, claiming that some 40 videotapes mailed to the defendants were never returned to her. The court will review, in the first instance, that part of the motion addressed to Unified City Court Act, Section 1801. Again, I point out to you, Peter Lane, it was not addressed to UCCA. It was addressed to the Uniform District Court Act, and you know that was wrong, and how can you overlook that? Plaintiff has jurisdiction over defendants who or which resides or has an office for the transaction of business or a regular employment within Westchester County. Well, it's obvious they do. They have several of them, as my paper said. Callaghy, in desperation, is wrong. Section 1801 is black letter law. Says Peter Lane, defendants do not contest the applicability of that section with respect to this court's jurisdiction over the corporate defendant herein. They do, however, by way of counsel's affidavit, contend that it does not grant this court jurisdiction over the individual defendants who, counsel asserts, both reside and work in Nassau rather than Westchester County. Do you notice a glaring mistake there of Peter Lane? Did Peter Lane call Charles Dolan to court? And did he examine him? And did Glendora have a chance to cross-examine him? No. Peter Lane took it on the lying affidavit of Robert M. Callaghy, Dolan's liar for hire. 5. Callaghy does not understand small claims nor the United States District Courts. Callaghy is the Park Avenue liar for hire that Dolan squanders shareholders' money on, and Peter Lane falls for it. Defendants also assert that Section 1810 should bar the action which they contend in their memorandum of law is being brought solely for the purposes of harassing the defendants. Not returning my videotapes is harassing the plaintiff. 6. The court notes that plaintiff enjoys quite a reputation as both a public access talk show hostess and a peripatetic plaintiff pro se. In fact, after separating the seed from the chaff, not always an easy task when reviewing plaintiff's papers, that's Glendora he's talking about, the court concludes that Glendora is as well versed in the applicable law herein as many, if not most, members of the bar. You like that, Franklin?
Yes.
That makes Franklin laugh. Glendora says, gee, thanks. It comes partly from monitoring courts for the fund for modern courts. Hooray! However, notwithstanding the well-documented list of lawsuits and barrings and/or partial barrings by other courts from various filings, this court, that would be the Rye City Court, Peter Lane, must conclude that Section 1810 does not apply herein. Hooray! We won on that, Franklin. Of course not. It's ultra vires. This action has to be adjudicated in this court and not in 50 other courts that Glendora has brought actions in. Paragraph 8, end of page 2. In the first instance, it is directed solely to the clerk and not to the court. Section 1810, I don't know if you want to know all this, but in the Small Claims Act and in the Uniform Justice City Court Act, Section 1810 says that a clerk can prevent somebody from filing or a case in small claims and making the person get leave to file. But it is directed to the clerk. It's not directed to the judge. So he gets out there on a technicality. Further, the court must conclude that there is a real, although easily remedied, controversy herein. Accordingly, that part of defendant's motion seeking a dismissal pursuant to the Uniform City Court Act, Section 1810, is denied. Okay, so we went on that. But again, Peter Lane, you are covering up that dumb Callaghy and Dolan and Cablevision did not bring it under the Uniform City Court Act. They brought it under the Uniform District Court Act, and it should have been thrown out for other reasons. There are no district courts in the city of Rye. The district courts are in Nassau County and Nassau in Suffolk County. Protecting the crooks. Page 3. Look out for the rich and trample on the poor, just like the U.S. Supreme Court. America is accursed. Because Peter Lane says, with respect to defendant Dolan, rather than granting him leave to apply his own affidavit setting forth where he resides and works, the court will rely on the general principles of law relating to corporations and their stockholders and officers. That is, it is clear in this court that any tapes mailed to Mr. Dolan by Glendora were mailed to him in his capacity as a shareholder and or officer of the corporate defendant. In his capacity as chairman, he's ultimately responsible for everything that happens at Cablevision. Hence, Glendora says. Now, Peter Lane says, hence this matter is dismissed as to defendant Dolan. See in general, 14 New York, JUR, Business Relationships, Section 33, 37, and 40. Also in this regard, the court has inherent power to determine who the actual defendants are in any small claims action. Unified City Court Act, Section 1814. Cop out, Peter Lane. Cop out. Cop out. Look out for the rich and trample on the poor. Did you get paid along with Bryan and de Blasio and Robinson and Jackson at all? These were other judges that I say got paid by Dolan. Always when Glendora corners Dolan in court, he gets out the money, and we have the Boldi-Facis. Finally, the court's role in any small claims action is to do substantial justice between the parties. Uniform City Court Act, Section 1803, and that 1804, and that is what Glendora kept telling this court. Cablevision is in possession of the videotapes. It is hereby directed to return the same to this court so that they are received no later than November 8, 2002. A copy of its cover letter to the court shall be sent to plaintiff. Well, I haven't got that yet. Glendora says this is substantial justice. Why could not Dolan and Cablevision Systems Corporation done this long ago in the first place? Why did it have to take a court of law to make them return a poor person's property?
Right.
Franklin says right. Do you say right?
Oh. You got what you wanted then. Very good.
I got my videotapes, which I wanted.
Yeah.
Of course. But why did it have to take all this?
Yeah.
Because of lawbreaker Dolan, that's why.
Yeah.
12. Plaintiff, upon her receipt of the same, is then to telephone this court and make an appointment to pick up the videotapes on any Wednesday during normal business hours or on or before Wednesday, January 15, 2003. Plaintiff asks the court to mail the same to her. Picking them up is a hardship because of malaise of connubial bliss Franklin. Franklin laughs. What do you think of that, Franklin?
Well, I guess we could go. But that's
70 miles?
That's good. It's a long way.
What happened the last time you went 70 miles to the right court?
Yeah.
You went to see the doctor. You became a victim of avaricious doctors and hospitals.
Yes.
And it was $58,000.
Yes.
13. The return of the videotape shall constitute the disposition of the within action. Objection! Objection! No way, Jose. No way. Plaintiff is entitled to reimbursement for the postage that Dolan, Cablevision, squandered. Plaintiff is entitled to compensatory and punitive damages. I sued for $3,000. I don't see any money coming back to me. Plaintiff demands sanctions against Dolan and Cablevision and Callagy for abuse of small claims and misrepresentations. And when people ask Glendora, when you sue Cablevision, do you get any money? And Glendora tells them, no, the judge gets the money. Quo warranto. Page 5. Finally, herein, plaintiff has now been put on notice by Cablevision as to what procedures she is to follow when submitting videotapes to it in the future. I would like to know where, Peter Lane. I would like to know when. I would like to know how. Where did you get that information? Super is biased. How is it Glendora has no problem with Rye returning her tapes or any of the other 36 cable TV stations she is on? Please explain. How come? Paragraph 20. The tapes were properly submitted. And this is dictum on Peter Lane's part. Writes Peter Lane, should she hereafter seek relief from this court with respect to videotapes that were not properly submitted, Glendora says, why do all judges always stand up for thieves and lawbreakers, particularly when the same are rich? Prove that the tapes were not properly submitted. Maurice Cunningham and Brenda Cherry both lost their jobs. They both got fired. And they're the ones who didn't return the tapes. And Peter Lane says, scrutinize Uniform City Court Act, Section 1810. The clerk is directed to scrutinize Uniform City Court Act, Section 1810, and if she deems it appropriate, compel plaintiff to seek leave of court before any future matter similar to the within action will be entertained. Now, what do you think of that, folks? What do you think of that, Franklin?
No good.
Franklin says that's no good. And what do you think of it, Katie? So here you have the Rye City Court fails America. And so, you go ahead. What were you going to say?
They made a good decision, but they hedged it so many ways.
Franklin says they made a good decision and hedged it in so many ways.
Yeah, and that can only be an attempt to shield Dolan and Callagy.
And Cablevision. I'd hate to be a judge. When you're a judge, you're scared of so many people. Right? You can't be a real person. You described it accurately, Franklin.
You won, but he hesitates to say so.
Franklin says Glendora won, but Peter Lane hesitates to say so. Okay.
And he doesn't say anything about the money. Postage. Right?
Right.
Which was part of your action.
Right. Just ignores it completely.
Yeah.
And you remember, this was just like Bryant and the videotape, the audio tape that Callagy Cablevision ordered. And then when I produce it, they refused to pay the $120.
Yeah.
Just like Bryant. And just like Bryant, when Bryant Cablevision, Charles Dolan stole your subpoena money for $350.
Right.
And Bryant wouldn't give it back to you.
Right.
Charles Dolan is a billionaire. He can't give back $350 he stole, plus the interest. He can't give back $120 that he stole.
Right.
He can't make Charles Dolan give back the postage that he stole from Glendora. It's dated October 22nd, and I received it on October 30th. And here's Peter Lane's signature. There is no worry that Glendora would seek justice in this court again on any similar matter. Right, Franklin?
Right.
You'd have to be a nut to go back to this court and expect justice. She may demand her rights in other courts, however. What were you going to say?
That's right.
Glendora wants her costs. It costs $15 to try to file this action, and look what you get from it. And Glendora wins on all of Callagy's obfuscations, but she does not get her money. She is entitled to $3,000. This court has erred and abused discretion on over 33 counts. But Glendora has always won in the end. The highest court takes care of that. Glendora has not received a copy of the court's cover letter. So there again, folks, this is Peter Lane and the City Court of Rye failing America. Folks, can you see this? You know, what has happened in the Rye Court happens in every court in America, so far as I can tell. It's happening all over the United States. And people are really getting upset about it. And I wanted to read you what A Matter of Justice Coalition, they put out a paper about this. This is the address for the Matter of Justice. Can you see it okay? What is their website? our complaints. Charles Heckman, Ph.D., all rights reserved. This was sent to me by Ethan Book. Ethan Book wrote the letter to Governor Rowland of Connecticut, telling him that in his platform or in Bill Curry's platform there was no provision for judicial reform. You've just seen an example there of how much we need judicial reform that I just told you about. Dr. Heckman says that every American is proud of the freedoms he enjoys. The American Constitution and laws guarantee a wide variety of civil and human rights. These rights only exist as long as judges are ready to do their jobs honestly and competently. And you've seen how far that goes. Judges must know the law and apply it with justice to all. You see how far that went. Judges have been shamelessly violating the trust the public has given them, thereby denying thousands of Americans their rights, their property, and often their freedom. Well, in this case, it was rights and property. It wasn't freedom. Why do they do this? Asked Dr. Charles Heckman, Ph.D. The most common reason is money. During the past few years, judges in different parts of the country have been arrested and convicted of soliciting and taking bribes. It is easy for a judge to fix a case so that one of the parties wins. Where a government agency is involved, a judge can promote his own career by ruling in favor of the agency. So you see that Peter Lane is scared stiff of Dolan, and he's scared stiff of Cablevision. And why? Because of his own personal ambition. He doesn't care anything about America. He doesn't care anything about justice. He doesn't care anything about the poor. The agency does not have to give them money to influence the decision. The government attorney can reward him with a recommendation for a promotion and let the taxpayers give him the money, says Dr. Heckman. Judges can also be biased against certain litigants because of their race, national origin, religion, gender, or because they served in the armed forces. You hear that, Franklin? Some judges are lazy and clear their dockets by arbitrarily dismissing civil suits before they come to trial. This is especially easy for them to do if a litigant is representing himself. This tells the judge that he cannot afford a lawyer. Have been wrongfully convicted for crimes they did not commit because court-appointed lawyers have not bothered to defend them properly. How true this is, and I have seen it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears in courtrooms, one after the other. And you might add to this, how many people have been made homeless by this apostasy, this giving up your oath, this double-crossing America. Why do we complain? If nobody watches over judges, they can get away with gross violations of litigants' civil and human rights because the United States Supreme Court normally refuses to hear any cases it does not regard as being of fundamental importance for interpreting the constitutional law. They even refuse to hear some of those. They only hear about less than 1% of the cases that are brought to them a year, and it's something like 7,000 cases petitions for writ of certiorari are brought to the U.S. Supreme Court. And they hear less than 1% of those. The Federal Court of Appeals, therefore, usually has the final say in determining whether a ruling by a lower court judge is fair and according to the law. Therefore, the continuing breakdown in our legal system obviously rests with the courts of appeals, which too frequently fail to make the lower courts function as they should. Some of the common abuses that plague our courts of appeal today include, now in another session I will read you 6 or 7 things that the courts of appeal do wrong. Of course, I tell you practically every day about my experience in the courts of appeal. Right now, the Ninth Circuit, oh boy, and the Third Circuit, the Ninth Circuit is in San Francisco, the Third Circuit is in Philadelphia, and the Third Circuit, which is in Philadelphia, I started to say just as the battery ran out. Okay, folks, here it is, the notice of appeal. It's as simple as that. November 4th, 2002, Anno Domini, City Court of the City of Rye, County of Westchester, State of New York. Small claims action, year 2000, number 146. Glendora plaintiff versus Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision Systems Corporation defendants. Notice of appeal with attachment and with motion to proceed in forma pauperis. That means as a poor person, you don't pay any fees and you appeal on the original record. Original record really doesn't apply in this case because we had no hearing. We had a conference in the backstage, but we had no hearing. Okay, let's get on with it. Please take notice that Plaintiff Glendora appeals to the Supreme Court, State of New York, appellate term for the 9th and 10th Judicial Districts, the order of City Judge Peter Lane, City Court of Rye. Said order dated October 20th, 2002. The order is appealed in part. Glendora did not get her $3,000 ad damnum. She did not get her $15 disbursements. She did not get paid the postage that defendants wasted. She did not get sanctions on Dolan, Cablevision, and Robert M. Callagay. Dated November 2002, yours in truth, Glendora, a chat with Glendora. I've told you before that the notice of appeal is one of the easiest legal papers to write, but if you don't act on it in 30 days, there's no hope for you. You're not going to get an extension. I don't know. We ought to get out of this court stuff. It's so evil. But then you can't let it go on. You can't let people going on and getting ripped off and abused and denied. You just can't. Can you, Franklin?
No.
I'd rather go do what Mother Teresa did, but the people in court need help just as badly, don't they, Franklin? They need support. Here are some jokes for you. 2 ships collided. One ship was carrying a load of red paint. The other ship was carrying a load of purple paint. At the last report, the crews of both ships were marooned. And did you know that computers are in the Bible? Yes. Eve said to Adam, "Do you want an apple too?" And the Japanese man went to see the eye doctor, and the eye doctor says, "You have cataracts." And the Japanese man says, no, I don't. I have a Lincoln Town Car. And baseball is in the Bible too. It says in the big inning. And why do firemen always have a Dalmatian dog? So the dog can go ahead of the fire truck and find the fire truck and find the fire hydrant. And the poor little tailor, he was not doing well at all. Business was very, very bad, and he was living just a minimum existence. He was practically starving to death, and his minister said, well, why don't you take the Lord as your partner? And the tailor took the Lord as his partner, and immediately things began to flourish. Immediately things grew and grew and grew. And the minister said, you see what it is when you take the Lord as your partner? And the little tailor says, oh yes, he says, we have stores all over the places. We have branches here, we have branches there, we have trucks all over the place. In fact, there goes one of our trucks right now, Lord and Taylor. And why was 6 mad at 7? Because 7, 8, 9. Folks, let's get back to this. Okay, this is a paper that was sent to me by Ethan Book Jr., who has told me about the corruption in the courts and in the government in Connecticut. And he is valiantly bucking it and trying to fight it. And this is a publication by a PhD named Charles Heckman, copyrighted, and he tells his complaints about the courts. And here is one of them, that the Court of Appeals are rubber stamping unjust decisions by corrupt lower courts. Boy, haven't we seen that. Court of Appeals judges sometimes dismiss appeals against unjust lower court decisions without even reading the documents submitted. I know this to be true. I have personal knowledge of it. Often a law clerk decides cases for the judge. A law clerk is a fly-by-night first job out of law school flunky who signs the documents without knowing what the cases are about. 2, allowing judges from lower courts to decide appeals filed by persons the court considers unimportant are often handed over to lower court judges who get the chance to practice for a future appointment to the higher court. The rights of the litigant to fair treatment are disregarded. I attest to this. I have seen it happen many times in the despicable Second Circuit. 3, forbidding the publication of decisions. Decisions that are obviously contrary to law can be covered up in this way by not having them published. The unpublished decisions may not be used as precedents because the decisions were contrary to other decisions in similar cases. I have been the victim of that maybe 40 times. 4, failing to deal with the legal issues. Many decisions are made for political reasons to please wealthy and powerful litigants. I guess we just had an example of that, didn't we? In Peter Lane, City of Rye, Glendora versus Cablevision, and Charles F. Dolan. Many litigants find that rulings against them clearly have no basis in law, but that there is no recourse against such things. Again, this is a paper sent to me by Ethan Book Jr., and it's a paper written by Dr. Charles Heckman, and it's published by A Matter of Justice Coalition. Post Office Box 1209, Dahlgren, Virginia. Accepting false and perjured evidence. Many cases are decided on statements made by the litigant favored by the judge, even though the statements have been shown to be contrary to fact. You've seen this, haven't you? Sometimes evidence contradicting testimony disappears from the file, and sometimes such evidence is simply ignored. Can you imagine judges being this crooked? I have told you they are. Again, there is no recourse from a bad decision by an appeals court judge, no matter how obvious or blatant the error is. This is so true of the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, the United States District Court, Eastern District of New York, the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. And so far as I can see, all of the other courts in the whole United States. I brought cases in California, in Los Angeles, in Las Vegas, in Albuquerque, in Wyoming, in California, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, in Philadelphia, in Alabama, in Delaware, in Boston, in Vermont, and as so far as I can see, every judge is this crooked. Now, I'm going to read you, when we get a chance, after you've had a rest, points 6, 7, and then the conclusion. This is Glendora, a chat with Glendora. Keep the courage flaming. Franklin just finished this book. It's called The Dog Who Rescued Cats. And it's an audio cassette. Isn't that great? Something nice to think about when you're surrounded by crooked judges in crooked courts. What's it about, Franklin? The dog actually saves cats?
No, he leads, the person leads his owner to the cat.
He leads his owner to the cats.
Who are hiding in abandoned buildings and dumps and things like that.
Who hide in dumps and abandoned buildings because they're...
The dog runs to where they are and won't leave.
And, yeah. And the name of the owner is Philip Gonzalez?
Yes, that's right.
And he lives in Far Rockaway, Queens. And this is such a nice book, A Dog Who Rescues Cats. How many cats did he rescue, Franklin?
Oh,
She. It's a she-dog, Ginny.
probably 70 or 80 because
70 or 80?
her owner
Philip Gonzalez.
has 14 at his house.
He has 14 cats in his house.
And a friend has 4 or 5.
A friend has 4 or 5.
And then they feed regularly every day, twice a day, 30 or 40 cats.
Oh, God bless you, Philip Gonzalez.
At different locations.
And they feed 40 or 50 cats twice a day at different locations. Oh, that's nice, Philip Gonzalez. Thank you, Franklin. You want to go outdoors? Oh, well, cute little kitty should, because it's such a beautiful fall day. Okay. And we'll take the rubbish out, too. Now, where's little kitty going, and what's little kitty going to do? Thank you, God, for such a beautiful earth. Thank you, God, for such a beautiful day. I feed the deer at night. Give them this day their daily bread. Cars are white with Jack Frost in the morning, but the sun takes it all away. Such a great blue. Nobody has ever rung our doorbell. This is what you call privacy. This is what you call peace and quiet. A bowl of grapes for Franklin.
You what?
And you take a long enough shot, you don't have to have a monitor. The tally lamp is working. Now we'll get the microphone. Too bad I lost my clip. I lost it out in the lawn someplace. Well, here it is, folks. Chat with Glendora uncovers the evil and fights the evil. And I believe that's what the Bible says, to fight evil. And this one is to the head honcho of Vassar Brothers Hospital. Can you hear okay, Franklin? Mm-hmm. And to the owner of Slope Willen Community Ambulance. And to the head honcho of Empire Medical Service. And to Sabash Kukorni of the Hopewell Medical Group on Route 376, and to the critical care unit in Poughkeepsie, New York. And here is the letter. And I will read it to you, and Franklin wants to hear it too. So I'll read it to the both of you. To Hope M. Ingold, Accounts Manager, Slope Willem Ambulance Service Incorporated, 16 Middlebush Road, Wappingers Falls, New York, 12590. Telephone number is 845-297-3770. 1. Thank you for reading our entire complaint. That is indeed an accomplishment. Services were provided, quote unquote, but without our consent. Anything you did was without our consent. We did not order the ambulance. Gargiulo did. Ask him to pay for it. We protested the ambulance. We never consented to Franklin's going to the hospital. If we had, Franklin was fully able to get into his own car, his 1993 Lincoln, and Glendora was fully capable of driving him to the hospital. That's so, isn't it? If we wanted to go to the hospital. But we didn't want to go to the hospital. Right. Franklin was not in an emergency condition. We were only interested in establishing a doctor contact to prevent autopsy, to prevent donation of our bodies to the New York Medical School in Valhalla. Your people drove away the fire department. What would the fire department have done? We wanted to go home. Franklin would have recovered just fine and already dandy at home. The shade of his favorite pine tree, cold water on his wrists and face, iced tea, and to sleep in his adored trundle bed. 11, we were victimized. 12, Medicare is victimized. 13, we were coerced. 14, we take this quote out of Miss Ingold's letter. I'm writing in regards to your recent correspondence. I have read your entire complaint, and I still find that services were provided to Mr. Buell on August the 15th, 2002. I have your signature on the insurance form that states, in the event that my insurance carrier fails to pay all or part of the Sloper-Willen claim for any reason, I understand that I will be responsible for the amount due unless the remaining balance is provided for under a separate municipal ambulance service agreement in which Sloper-Willen is a part. You do not fall under a separate municipal contract, therefore you are responsible for the remaining $84.29. Uh-oh, that's a run-on sentence. She should have put a semicolon after contract and before therefore. Okay, Glendora says that this should have been pointed out to us before we signed. The entire paper is unconscionable. It was signed without being read to the signer, without a word as to what it was about. It was signed under duress. 16. Glendora rescinds her signature herein because of unconscionable coercion. In plain Anglo-Saxon terms, you suckered us. 33. We take a quote from her letter, Miss Ingold's letter. This is the ambulance that charged $600. Is that a rip-off, or isn't it? I do understand that you are disputing the claim and do not feel it necessary to pay. But regardless of the care that you received from Vassar Hospital, we provided more than adequate care to Mr. Buell, and we deserve to be paid for our service. Indeed, they paid more than adequate care. We didn't need the care. But your care was not necessary, Glendora says. We did not engage your care. Ask Arjulo to pay. He called. We did not. We protested his call. We opposed it. It again is unconscionable. And says Miss Ingold of Sloper Willen Ambulance, payment is due in full upon receipt of this letter. If I do not receive the payment due in 14 days, I will have no choice but to refer this account to our collection department. My goodness, I'm shivering and shaking. And I will take you and your collection department to court, Glendora says, and I'll end up owning your ambulance. Says Miss Ingold of Sloper Willen. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at 845-297-3770. I'm available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., or you may write to me at P.O. Box 574, Wappinger Falls, New York, 12590. Although, now this is a riot, Franklin. She says, although entertaining, please keep all future correspondence to less than 1 page. Thank you. Well, Glendora says, this is an infringement of my free speech, and I will write as many pages as are necessary to stop innocent people from being ensnared by rip-off gangsters. And here is, something's wrong. It must be page 5. Glendora did not understand any of this, and it says, due to recent changes in Medicare rules and regulations, Sloper Willen is required to notify you when services provided or about to be provided may not be covered by Medicare. And this is signed Glendora, and it's dated by somebody else. And Glendora says, you did no such thing. You did not give me any such notice. Glendora states again, the entire process was and is unconscionable, 27, and abominable, and actionable, and we do not want Medicare to pay for it. We were not told that the charge would be over $600. We were not given a list of ambulances to choose from. We are entitled to a shopper's choice. Don't you think, Franklin?
Yeah.
Glendora's focus was on Franklin when these things were put under her nose to sign. We had never been to a doctor before. We did not know. You inhumanely pounced on our ignorance, our distress, and our vulnerability. Glendora seriously questions that this paper will stand up in court. You will have to take it to court and get a declaratory judgment. If the judge decides that your paper is legal, Glendora will sue said judge for violation of civil rights under color of state, Title 42 United States Code, Section 1983 and 1985, conspiracy. The print on your paper thrust under Glendora's nose is not legal size type. Your people did not give Glendora a copy. I understand, quote, unquote, your paper asserts. Well, Glendora did not understand. And this is page 7, and here is Hope Ingold's signature. I addressed the letter, by the way, to the head honcho of Slope Willen. And if you tell me that's what all ambulance services charge today, $600, that is price fixing and Sherman antitrust. Glendora demands that you justify your outrageous charge. What you read here will be read on television. Voila. Glendora is on Thursdays at 10 p.m. in Wappingers, cable TV system Cablevision, and Tuesdays at 3:30 p.m. Time Warner, City of Poughkeepsie, and on 33 other TV stations, Oregon, New Mexico to Connecticut, New York. Believe her, you are in for a tough battle. 41 is reserved, but you know, I should have given them the quote that the city judge, City of Rye, City Court of Rye, said, that Glendora was what? More knowledgeable of the law than what? Most attorneys and most something at bar, right? Even though she's a pro se. And here's today's joke. Doctor, you had a close call. It was only your strong constitution that pulled you through. Patient. Gee, docs, thanks. Would you remember that when you make out the bill? Shaw acquiesced that Franklin had a strong constitution, and that's what pulled him through. He actually acknowledged that. Indeed, Franklin has recovered in spite of doctors, the hospital, and an ambulance. He's recovered. Now, on October the 23rd, 02, Franklin had a bad spell, set off by his eyes, set off by trying to read something. This caused him to be unsteady on his feet and slow. But home in bed, under his electric blanket, sans tubes, no tubes sticking in his nose, no tubes sticking in his arms, sans tubes and big machines and monster hospital toys, he has rebounded perfectly. 45, page 9, paragraph 45, page 9. Under penalty of perjury, Glendora has told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help her God. And this is a verified answer. Dated November the 5th, Election Day, Anno Domini, Tuesday, yours in truth, Glendora. A chat with Glendora. Service list. Hopewell Medical Group, Cardiac Care Group, Vassar Brothers Hospital, CMS, Empire Medical Service, Glendora TV audience. The all-important. Center for Judicial Accountability Incorporated, and Who to Sue. Hours, and it costs $6 to print and post. Oh, thanks. On the back page somewhere, I've got these pages all mixed up. Oh, right here. On the back page somewhere is a joke. And it says, a freighter carrying a load of red paint collided with a freighter carrying a load of purple paint, and at last report, the crews of both ships were marooned. Stay tuned, folks, for another evil or report of evil being done in this world in just a few seconds. You think we got this, Franklin? You think we got this, folks? Come on, tally lamp. Sign and date these 10 forms. You remember that Ethan Book Jr., who lives in Fairfield, Connecticut, who has encountered corruption in the courts, wrote me or sent me a copy of his letter to Governor Rowland, running for the governorship of Connecticut. And Ethan Book's complaint is that neither he nor his opponent dealt on their platform with the problem of judicial reform. Now, this is a big problem. Judges are abominable. I was going to say the vernacular S-T-I, no. Judges are abominable. They're abhorrent. They're in it for themselves. Justice means nothing to them. Your welfare means nothing to them. And so that was a good letter that Ethan Book wrote, and along with it he enclosed a statement by a PhD named Charles Heckman. And Dr. Heckman writes, what do the judges do wrong? And I read you 2 pages of that. And now I'll read you the final page. And number 5 thing they do wrong is they accept false and perjured evidence. Many cases are decided on statements made by the litigant favored by the judge, even though the statements have been shown to be contrary to fact. Sometimes evidence contradicting testimony disappears from the file, and sometimes such evidence is simply ignored. Again, there is no recourse from a bad decision by an appeals court judge, no matter how obvious or blatant the error is. Now, we saw that in Glendora versus Bruiser Ken, right? The United States Attorney and his accomplices, abettors, lied 6,000 times, and I kept track of them all. And the appeals court knew this, but the appeals court, Calabrese, ruled in favor of evil and against good, in favor of the U.S. Attorney, Edgardo Ramos, a sleaze through and through, and against the good people. 6, making new laws. Judges are not supposed to make laws. Legislators are. Recently, many judges have repealed existing laws or made new laws by judicial fiat. That means they interpret laws in adventurous new ways never intended by the legislators. They're crooked. These judges are crooked. We need judicial reform. 7, depriving citizens of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. Finally, courts have begun placing people in jail for indeterminate periods for divorce-related issues and belated child support payments. Trial and conviction by a jury is unnecessary in those proceedings. Parents who lose their jobs and miss child support payments find themselves in a modern debtor's prison. Sometimes they are permitted to work for less than the minimum wage, assuring that the debt is never paid off and that they can never be released. In effect, they find themselves in slavery. Again, this came to us from Ethan Book Jr. It is written by Charles Heckman, Ph.D., all rights reserved. And even if you have not yet had any problems with a court, the chances are increasing that you will. If you are interested in judicial reform to introduce more checks and balances into the performance of our legal system, write for information at the address below. A Matter of Justice Coalition, P.O. Box 1209, Dahlgren, Virginia 22448. You want the email address? Okay, I'll go hold it up at the camera. It's too long to read it. Okay, this is Glendora, Chat with Glendora. And let me tell you some jokes. Two ships collided. One ship was carrying a load of red paint, and the other ship was carrying a load of purple paint. And at last report, the crews of both ships were maroon. And did you know that baseball is in the Bible? It is. The Bible says, in the big inning. And the Japanese man went to see the eye doctor, and the eye doctor told the Japanese man, you have cataracts. And the Japanese man says, I do not. I have a Lincoln Town Car. And the poor little tailor was doing so terribly. He was barely making enough to eat, and he was starving to death. And so the minister said to him, you should take the Lord as your partner. And so the little tailor, he started to do that, and things prospered, and business picked up right away. And the minister saw him, and he says, you see what happens when you take the Lord as your partner? And the little tailor says, I'll say. He says, look, we got stores all over the place. We got branches all over the place. We've got trucks all over the place. Look, there goes one of our trucks right now, Lord and Taylor. And why do firemen have a Dalmatian dog? Firemen always have a Dalmatian dog. Why? So the dog can go ahead and find the fire hydrant for them. And computers are in the Bible too. Eve said to Adam, do you want an apple too? And why was 6 mad at 7? Because 7, 8, 9. Now we also have later on to read to you a judicial court reform bill for the state of Oklahoma. You see how this crooked judges goes all over the United States, and don't I know? Because I'm in the Ninth Circuit right now with the crazy Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, United States Court of Appeals. So I will read you that sometime. You also have information coming in from George McDermott, who is a great soldier fighting for your rights down in Maryland. And it's 9 years, Armistice Day, November the 11th, that Glendora has been fighting the law-breaking of Charles F. Dolan and an entity called Cablevision Systems Corporation. The abuses that Charles F. Dolan has perpetrated against you, the subscribers, against shareholders, not showing shareholders the books, records, and minutes, and the shareholders list, which is required by law. and by common sense. Who owns the company after all? And his abuse of public access producers, and his abuse of Yankee fans, and he took Glendora's shares. He tried to take them away, her Cablevision shares, so to keep her out of the annual meeting, but hero Peter Wunsch stopped him from doing that. He put up about 10 obstacles. And so 9 years I've been fighting the law breaking of Charles Dolan. It started with Charles Dolan didn't like a chat with Glendora, or Thomas Galata didn't like it, and James Picken didn't like it, and so Charles Dolan answered their request to take a chat with Glendora off of TV, not knowing, or knowing fully well, that this was breaking federal law and state law and municipal law. And Glendora sued, and the courts told him, put Glendora back on TV. So it's 9 years ago, Armistice Day, Veterans Day, November the 11th, 1993.